Welcome to today's edition of the CIO Water Cooler TV. My name's David Savage, and today I'm joined by Barbara Gottardi. Barbara, you're the Chief Information Officer at Vanguard Asset Management Limited. Thanks for taking some time to join me on this virtual chat today.
Thank you for having me.
We'll get into the first topic of conversation because we're gonna have two episodes with you because there's been a significant change in your life recently, which we'll address in the second episode. But first of all, we want to talk about team building and culture because you're relatively new in your role.
I am indeed. I'm 8 weeks into my role while we're having the conversation. And it's been a big change because I was in a previous organization for 16 years. So very different, big change, but really exciting.
And yet at the same time, I suppose, not a change at all because you were 16 years at one organization in your living room, dining room, whatever. And now you're 8 weeks in the organization in the same place.
I'm still there, yeah. I'm trying to change the decor and have some picture and put some wallpaper just to make a difference. But
just out of interest, the organization that you've inherited it's roughly about 100 people or so within technology, right?
In Europe it is, but it's very big in the US. So slightly different. I used to do a more global role. I'm now in a regional role. So it's quite interesting to see the world from a slightly different perception.
And you've got in there and you've been tasked with building a high-performing team. Given that your physical location hasn't changed, how are you assessing the team dynamics going into a new organization?
That's a really good question. So there is only one way to do it, and that's the same way that we're having the conversation now. I was lucky enough to meet a couple of people in the office at the beginning where I could go there a couple of times a week. So I've seen people with legs standing up and face to face, but now I'm back to just top up. I think it's trying to meet people individually at the beginning and understand what makes them tick, what they like, what that makes them drive, and trying to introduce myself in who I am and what makes me tick and what I'm trying to achieve. And then slowly bringing people together as a group and see how they interact together.
You talk there about what makes people tick. Authentic leadership is obviously incredibly important. Is it as easy to be yourself, to be authentic in the situation that we now find ourselves in? Some people might say you're at home, you're relaxed, you can be yourself, but equally not everyone is comfortable necessarily being on camera and distracted by looking at themselves all the time.
Yes, I think it does require a bit more effort. I've noticed it's easier when you're in the office, you almost switched off from what you usually do at home, from the postman that comes at the wrong time, the kids that are coming back from school. And I think that, flexible working is really important. You need to kind of adapt to that. I've also changed from a world where London was the kind of center of the universe. So the key time to speak to people across the world was like suitable to London time zone, and now I have to deal more with US and Australia to get to know people over there as well, and that's kind of shifted more to the second half of the day. So I think you adapt, right?
And even at a local level, right? You say there that London was the center of the universe, but if I think about the organization I work in, a year ago, we were all in one room in central London, and now that team is all over the place. So you're not entirely sure where they are. And I suppose there's that very obvious physical diversity, but are you seeing more diversity in the teams themselves, in the way that they're working, in the way that they're thinking, and how you actually embrace that and draw the positives from that?
I think we have to, and I think that's what we're trying to do. If you want it, in one side is maybe level the playing field. So we're all on video and we're all in the same place. So I think in the past, people maybe might have complained of meetings they weren't invited on, or they were kind of clicky conversation happen by the coffee machine or on the corridor. That is actually not happening anymore. So that could be a positive. But I think, I don't know, I've seen that in the first lockdown, people were excited and there was some positive on, you know, you got more time with your family, you don't need to commute, you are as performing as you were before, if not more productive. From what I've seen, speaking to people, friends, or reading article in LinkedIn, I think this second lockdown is kind of making people a bit more questioning, is that as effective? And I think the right balance of being at home but also seeing people face to face is necessary.
Out of interest, do you think cultural differences are beginning to actually spill out a little bit more second time around? First time around, it was new for everybody. There was very much that collective, we're in this together. You know, you might be based in London, but you're Italian, and I suppose with that there will come a certain way of expressing yourself and working. Second time around, second lockdown, are some of those cultural differences more exposed and create, I suppose, a slightly different challenge from a management perspective?
So are you saying I'm Italian and I'm using my hands and that's the difference from
Well, there is that aspect, isn't there? Everyone communicates in a slightly different way. And whereas before we were all in this together, now people might be going, oh, I don't know, I can't really be myself. And drawing that out as a manager has got to be a challenge.
I think it's a challenge, and I think, you know, I grew up in Italy, and I think you cannot have a successful conversation unless you get agitated, move your hands, and actually feel like you're having an argument. And I've learned the English way, that actually you need to just be calm and have a calm conversation. So even my initial argument with my husband, where I just was ready for an argument, he was just walking away from the room and said, I'm not having this until you calm down. And I was like, what do you mean? That's how we should do it. And I think you need to be aware that cultural difference and that different way of interacting doesn't actually suit some people in a video environment. And I think as a leader, as a manager, you might need to be a bit more respectful or mindful, or kind of trying to prod some people that normally wouldn't. Maybe they would say something in a room, but in a video is really hard, and it kind of struggle.
Last question quickly, because I know that we're short on time, but hiring people that are better than you has always been one of those kind of principles of good management. And sometimes people are scared of that. The one slightly different dynamic, I suppose, to add to the conversation, everyone is very individual. What you do is far more exposed. It is a very individual job now. There is less collaboration, perhaps, evidently going on. Does that make it scarier still to hire someone better than you? And how do you counteract that?
I think it's absolutely the right thing to do. And I think as a leader, you should see the one as connecting the dots, and make sure the integration, if we're in technology, the integration, the glue with the business is there. You need to also, I think, work harder to make sure the team does still work as a team, irrespective of where they're sitting or where they are, and remember to not go down the silos route. So I think the skill as a leader are broad, and you kind of cannot afford to be involved in every single detail. Hence, I think you do need to trust your team and make sure you hire the best people for the job. So you don't need to micromanage them, but just empower them to be the best at what they are, and accept that they will be better than you. And that's the right thing if you want to drive a successful team.
Well, look, Barbara, I really appreciate you spending some time to have a conversation with us about your new role. I hope it continues to go well, as we said, only 8 weeks in. But yeah, thank you for your time. And if you are interested and have enjoyed this edition of CIO Water Cooler TV, please do have a hunt around the site. There's plenty more content for you to get engaged with.